Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Adobe, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to create a very simple drag and drop interaction in Adobe Captivate. If you're ready, let's get started. So just before I get into the demonstration, I want to quickly show you a quick preview of the kind of interaction that we're trying to build today. So I'm going to go ahead and play this slide, and you can see that this slide has some images here. These are going to be our drag sources, and these two spots are going to be our drop targets. So essentially what we want the learner to do is to drag the object from the left here and just drop it into the right spot. And we want a situation where as the learner drops the image to the right location, we want a situation where the image disappears and we get a feedback. If they drop it in the wrong place, they get a feedback and the image goes back to its original location. So that's really what we're trying to build today, and it's a very nice way to do knowledge checks if you are creating e-learnings. And so yeah, we're going to try to build this, and let's see how it goes. In Adobe Captivate, you can use a drag and drop interaction for categorizing objects. And this is where you allow more than one object to be linked to a specific drop target. So I have here my exercise file open, and you can also download it and follow along as well. So on this slide, I have different types of animals, and I want the learner to drag and drop the animals to the correct habitat section to the right. So these objects here are the drag sources, and these two objects are the drop targets. So I want them to drag the correct animals onto the right section. So let's build out this interaction in Adobe Captivate. To do this, I will go up here and click on Interactions, and then click Drag and Drop. And this is going to open up the drag and drop interaction wizard. The first thing I need to do is to identify my drag sources and then categorize them. So I can select my drag sources by clicking on them. So I'm going to click on the first one, and I'm going to hold down Shift on my keyboard and select the others. So once I've selected the drag sources, I'm going to come up here and click on this plus button, and I'm going to label this category aquatic, and I'll click OK. I'll do the same thing for the second category of objects. So I'll click on the terrestrial animals, I'll hold down Shift, and then come up here and click this plus button, and I'm going to label this terrestrial, and I'm going to click OK as well. And so that completes the first step. I've specified the drag sources or draggables, and I have also categorized them. So I now have two categories. Next thing I need to do is click Next. And in this next step here, I need to specify the drop targets. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the first one, and you can see that it is selected as indicated by the blue outline around the object. I'll click on the second one as well, and that one also has the blue outline around it, which means that these have both been selected. And then I'm going to click Next. Now this third step is about specifying the correct answers, and what I have to do is to map the drag sources to the correct drop targets. The way that I do this is to click and drag the handle at the center of the drag sources. So for the first category, I'm just going to pick one object out of that category, and I'm going to drag it to the correct drop target. And the moment I do that, it automatically maps the other objects of the same category to that drop target. I'm going to do the same thing for the second category as well, and it automatically maps the drag sources to this drop target as well. So I'm going to click finish at this point. So it's looking good so far. For this interaction, I want the learners to receive feedback as they drag and drop the objects onto the drop targets. And so I really don't need this submit button here, so I need to get rid of it. But I can't really delete it, so the best way to get rid of it is just to move it off of the stage. So I'm just going to drag it and I'm going to move it out of the stage like that. And I'm also going to do the same thing for these text captions here. So I'll move these also off the stage like that. Or I could also just delete these two. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and delete both of them because I don't really need these text captions here. So the next thing I need to do is to select the drop target and click on Object Actions. Here I want to uncheck terrestrial, and by doing this, this means that only the drag sources from the aquatic category will be acceptable here. So I'm going to click OK. I'll select the second one as well, and I'll click on Object Actions. And I will uncheck aquatic. Again, this means that only the draggables or the drag sources from the terrestrial category will be acceptable. So I'm going to click OK here as well. So let's just preview this interaction at this point. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to preview. So you can see that if I move this object into the wrong area, it rejects it and it moves it back. But I don't see any feedback or anything like that. If I move it to the correct area, you see how it accepts it. I do this as well, it accepts it. If I try to move this over here, it rejects it and it sends it back to the original position. But if I move it to the correct target, it accepts it. But you'll notice that the objects are pretty much just staying on the drop target and they're not really moving away, and it's starting to look very cluttered. And so I don't really like how that looks. So what I want to do is I want to set it up in such a way that as you drop the objects onto the drop target, it disappears. So let's see how we can set that up. Let's close out of this, and I'm going to navigate back here, and I'll start with the terrestrial drop target. So I'll select it, and I'm going to go to the snap behavior. This is where I'm going to change that setting. So if I click on this drop down, there are basically three categories or three types of snap behaviors. There's the absolute one, there's the anchor, which basically will anchor the correct response to any one of these 9 locations that you set. And there is also the tile that kind of just helps you to position the response correctly on the drop target. So I'm going to go back to anchor. But the main change I really need to make here is to change the size and the opacity to 0. So I'm going to click on this drop down. I'll change that to 0. I'll do the same thing for the aquatic. Select it, and I'm going to come here and change this to 0. Okay. The other thing that I would like to do is I want to display some feedback when the learner drags and drops the drag sources onto the drop targets. So here I need to make sure that for the aquatic animals that is selected, and I'm going to come here to display. I'll check that button. So on accept, what do I want it to say? So when it accepts it, let's say the feedback displayed should say correct. And when it is not accepted, when it's rejected, let's have the feedback say try again. So here I'm going to just type in try again. But I'm also going to change the visual appearance as well. I'll make it look like that. And I'll move it over here. I need to do the same thing for this second drop target. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to go up here to drag and drop. And I'm going to go to right here where it says display. So once it's accepted, I want this to say correct. Let's move it this way. Okay, and I'm going to select it again. Go to drag and drop. On reject, I want it to say try again. So I'm going to click on it and drag it down here as well. All right, so now let's preview what we've done here and see how it looks. So when we preview this, I'm going to start out by dropping the object onto the wrong target. You see, it rejects it and it gives me that feedback. When I drop it onto the correct, it accepts it and it gives me that feedback. Again, if I do that, if I do it correctly, I get the feedback. So that looks like it works out perfectly for us, and it looks great. So that's really how you can create drag and drop interactions using categories of objects. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with someone. All right, I'll catch you next time.